rewatching this movie, I feel like it could have been executed way better. Like the way the dude explains to him how everything works in the beginning is really dumb. It's only natural to want freedom, right? Why, like when he's explaining it to him, would he make it kind of seem like they actually do know what's out there, but they're just refusing to tell him? Like that makes them immediately seem like the villains in his eyes. Like the Gladers are trying to keep him trapped there. And you're really telling me that nobody else ever once bothered to like be curious about escaping this thing that's clearly man-made? They're all aware that they were like put there and that like it did some experiment or something like that. Why don't any of them have the urge to leave? And I get to the whole conflict in the beginning is that like they know about like the grievers or whatever and they don't want to tell him for some reason, but that's really stupid. How would they all know if nobody told them? Why is everybody like so reluctant to tell him about it? If they had just told him from the beginning like, hey, we're trying to figure out what's in the maze. People go in and, you know, they come back and sometimes they don't come back and it's extremely dangerous. If they had just said that, he never would have felt the need to go against the dude's orders in the first place. Literally the only reason they don't tell him is so the script can make sure that they, you know, check off each item off the teen drama action movie checklist. Like the people who made this movie do not understand story. And I get that it's based off a book and I don't know how the book is. It could be a masterpiece. It could be the worst thing ever. But whatever writing what was involved in making this movie is not good. And it's like a reminder, like there is a difference between the people who consume art and people who create art. People who consume art would think that like the concept of the maze is cool and that's what people really like about this story. But people who create art would realize that the maze, like this concept, right, this premise is just a catalyst for character drama to happen in an interesting way. And that's really what people are interested in watching when they're immersed in a story. They might be drawn to the premise, but they stay for the character drama. And if they were smart, they would focus on that drama. But like the reason for putting everyone in the maze, that premise is like, first of all, it doesn't even make sense. The whole idea behind it only works if you're like 10 years old. How is like studying the minds of people, not even by like hooking them up to an MRI, but just like watching them from a distance, have like decent character drama over years of time? How is that gonna like do anything to find a cure for a disease that affects the brain? The way someone thinks hardly has anything to do with like the vast majority of the brain's actual functional capabilities. The vast majority of what the brain does is unconscious. And viruses and that sort of thing, these are better solved on the chemistry end of things rather than the psychological end of things. And what do they mean? Like, oh, like these people are immune. They're clearly not immune. They're getting stung and they're getting affected by it. Oh, okay, and they're not dying, right? Okay, if they're not dying, then how come the antidote works on them? The antidote is made using their blood, right? So why wouldn't their blood work on them anyways? Why don't they already have the antidote? How does that make any sense? And if their blood is so valuable, why do like these people, why have they made the grievers keep trying to kill them and stuff? How do they have the resources to build this giant maze and everything if they don't have the resources to like just keep people quarantined? I'm telling you, unless you're like 10 years old or younger, everything in this movie, like when you get down to it, makes no sense. This movie actually could have been amazing if they had like really interesting characters doing stuff in the maze and they left it completely ambiguous as to like why they're even there to begin with. It's kind of like real life in that way. Even though they added Gus to the second movie, it was even worse than the first one. It made me wonder how they even got approved to make a third one in the first place. The villains are not nuanced. They're just evil for no reason. None of the characters really make any sense. Sid from Toy Story does a complete 180 from being completely submissive to the system to completely rebelling against it. No character arc or anything. It literally doesn't make any sense. And like Wicked has no problem killing humans when their goal is to try to save them, which like that could be interesting if there was some nuance there or if maybe they had some justification, but everyone just acts like they're in an action movie. Like maybe if the villains wanted to actually save the species but at any cost, then it could be like something to explore there. But they don't even want to save the species, or they're just too stupid to realize that what they're doing isn't saving the species. And if they're this stupid, how the hell did they even amass this much power and stuff? It makes no sense, and it's such a shame. Like the movie came out in 2018 and it could have been a warning before the pandemic, you know, for this kind of thing. It could have been like a story on like how different people will fare differently in this kind of situation, because there are clearly two sides to the pandemic who have been taking two different methods for going about solving the problem. And one side is prevent nature from taking its course. The other side is let nature take its course. And both sides have their reasons, but the villains of this movie don't like have any nuance or like pick a side. They're just evil for no reason. It's a terrible movie. It's just a shame that like these movies had so much potential, but they just failed to live up to it. If you're judging like just the first movie by itself, like just The Maze Runner, I'd say it's like a 3 out of 10. But the trilogy altogether, I'm gonna go with 1 out of 10. I heard the books are better, as usual. I don't fucking read, as usual.